This video is brought to you by America First Insight. Help support the growing conservative movement by becoming a member today. And if you want to support this channel, you can also use the code REAL when becoming a member. Thank you and enjoy the video. Well, as everyone knows, we are a couple of years away from the 2028 presidential election, and that means we are about a year or so out before major candidates begin to declare their candidacy for the presidential primaries. So you would think right now, with that in mind, we wouldn't be seeing much movement on this front at all, at least for the first half of 2026, or crying out loud. We still got a midterm election to talk about later this year. Well, you could just throw that logic out the window because according to Axios, Steve Bannon, yes, that Steve Bannon, is quietly making moves towards a 2028 presidential run. Yeah, this is a real headline. Now, to be fair, we've heard for a couple months now that there was speculation mounting that Steve Bannon, he might run in 2028, but most people thought that was just crazy talk. He wasn't serious about it. That was just a theory. That was a rumor. Well, now it's sounding very likely that Steve Bannon is probably going to run for president in 2028, which just sounds crazy to say, but that's the current reports going around right now. It sounds like, no, it's a serious thing, not just some weird theory that somebody had because he said one thing. No, it's sounding like right now he is beginning to build up some kind of campaign behind the scenes. Former Trump White House advisor Steve Bannon is laying the groundwork for a 2028 presidential run. Two people familiar with his thinking tells Axios the MAGA godfather isn't serious about becoming president. That's not the point. Instead, he's told allies he wants to shape the debate and pressure Republican candidates to embrace an America First agenda, including a non-interventionist foreign policy, economic populism, and opposition to big tech. So we kind of knew for a while that Steve Bannon, even if he ran for president, he had no chance. Even before this report came out, let's cut the crap. There was no way he's going to win the nomination. There's no way in hell that he would even crack like 5%. So that's why it was confusing. Like, what? Why are you going to run for president? You have no chance at winning. It's going to be JD Vance. And if something crazy happens with Vance, it's a good chance it's going to be Marco Rubio. So we have that sorted out. It's more than likely going to be Vance for president and Marco Rubio for VP. Something happens to Vance, it's going to be Rubio. But apparently that's not his goal. His goal isn't to win. It's to shape the debate and pressure Republicans to embrace an America First agenda, which on paper sounds like an okay idea. Like, hey, wait a minute, this is actually not bad because there are some serious concerns with people like Marco Rubio, not so much Vance, but really Rubio has some concerns. He has been a lot better than most people thought he was going to be, including myself. I thought he was going to be okay as Secretary of State, but as so far, he's been damn good. Has he been perfect? Of course not, but he's been a fairly solid Secretary of State. But when you think of Marco Rubio, you still think of him back in 2016 supporting amnesty and crap like that. That is a serious concern. And I understand that Steve Bannon's worried about that because Trump is not running for president. I know the article says that Bannon's trying to push Trump to run again, but guys, he's not going to run. Trump's been trolling for years about that. He's not going to seriously run for a third term. He legally can't. I know there's a loophole they may talk about, but Trump is not going to run for a third term. He legally can't. It's not going to happen. Former Congressman Matt Gaetz, who has appeared on Bannon's War Room podcast, said the Bannon campaign will merge the foreign policy of Rand Paul with the tax policy of Elizabeth Warren. And that's kind of Bannon's goal. His goal is to move the Republican Party towards his America First agenda. That's his whole goal of this. Even Axios admitted that, yeah, he doesn't think he's going to win. He just thinks, well, I'm still going to run for president and I'm going to get like 5% of the vote, but my goal is to push the Overton window on some issues in the correct direction. And I'm not against the idea of this, but listen, just read this again. They're going to merge a foreign policy of Rand Paul, which Rand Paul, he's very good at foreign policy. I'm not saying he's, bad, but realistically speaking, the Rand Paul foreign policy now, it's really not realistic. It just,
listen, I love Rand Paul. He's great. But realistically speaking, the foreign policy of Rand Paul, that's just not going to happen. Most people, they're against nonsensical wars in the Middle East. Yeah, we agree with that. But at the same time, they're not against the idea of, say, striking Venezuela for whatever reason. If it makes sense, we're not against the idea of using the military. And the problem with Rand Paul, especially lately, is, and that's really the whole libertarian side of the GOP, it's the fact that any military action Trump takes, no matter what it is, it's automatically bad because some bullshit reason, which is ridiculous. And again, I like Rand Paul. I agree with him on most issues on foreign policy, but realistically, when it comes to foreign policy, the average voter's not Rand Paul. They're just not. Yes, most people would agree with most of what he's saying, but they're not going to say, "Oh, we shouldn't have any military involvement anywhere in the world. We have to do nothing." That's unrealistic. And the second part, the tax policy of Elizabeth Warren. That's not a good thing to say. Seriously, who thought this was a good idea? Okay, Rand Paul, a lot of people like him, especially in the base, but the tax policy of Elizabeth Warren, that just doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound good. Seriously, you could say a million different things. Like, I don't know, the consumer rights policy of Elizabeth Warren or something like that. You're going with taxes, which you could argue is one of the most unpopular parts of Elizabeth Warren's platform. Seriously? I know it's Matt Gaetz saying that, but Matt Gaetz and Bannon, they're close. They're allies. And if Matt Gaetz is saying that, that's what he's going to run on. I know they don't mean identical policies to Elizabeth Warren. They're talking about a broad term for economic populism. That's their whole idea in opposition to big tech. Problem is, you don't say the tax policy of Elizabeth Warren. Even those are the base that are, not Reagan types on economics. They're not going to say, yeah, we want the taxes of Elizabeth Warren. No, that's not good. We don't have a country if we don't get every ounce of fight and energy from President Trump. You could drive a Mack truck through the 22nd Amendment, and that's exactly what I intend to do in order to save our country. And again, that's what Bannon's idea is. His whole idea is run Trump a third term. That's what he's publicly saying. But in reality, no, that's not going to happen. Trump is not going to run for a third term. Now, he has a book coming out saying, oh, secretly he could serve a third term. But no, that's just not going to happen. At the same time, Bannon quietly has taken several steps to prepare a possible campaign. Two sources familiar with this thinking say he has expressed interest in setting up a PAC that could spend money in midterm races, and he has talked with allies to see who might work for him, the sources told Axios. This past Friday, Bannon orchestrated a massive Save Texas from Radical Islam all-day conference and dinner, including 150 grassroots leaders from 22 groups in Grapevine, Texas. The event was organized by War Room and sponsor Patriot Mobile, with Glenn Beck as the keynote. Bannon told us the event drew 750 with 1,000+ requests for tickets. He launches War Room Texas on Monday. So yeah, he's been lately trying to build up a campaign, building up infrastructure. He's doing events in Georgia, Colorado. He's expanding his operation into Texas. It's looking likely he's going to probably run, or at the bare minimum, be more directly involved, at least in the midterms. That's where I think it's going to start right now. He's going to be focused on the midterms, try to get good Republicans across the hump, across the board. And it sounds like his main focus is on Texas, and that's a positive thing. This is why I like Steve Bannon. He understands there's still a lot of shit Republicans in Texas. There's a lot of shit ones that got to go, especially the state legislature. Primary them out. And that's a good thing. Focus on the 26 midterms now, but why are you still trying to build up a campaign at the same time? I think it's a waste of time. I really think it's a waste of time that doesn't do anybody any good. Bannon Associates, familiar with his private comments in the 2028 election, envision a non-traditional campaign run from his Capitol Hill podcast studio, and without rallies in early primary states such as Iowa and New Hampshire. Okay, this thing's a joke. Listen, I like Bannon. Like, I think he's a great guy, but seriously, you're gonna run your campaign from your studio, not do any events anywhere, you're not gonna get any support. Okay, like it's one thing to say, yeah, we want to move the Overton window on this issue. That's good. Like there's some stuff I agree, yeah. Like foreign policy, it's still a big question mark, but you're not gonna move the Overton window just by hosting your podcast. Like, really? You're not going to win any primary or get any kind of support just by hosting War Room. That's just stupid. One Bannon ally said the biggest tell that he's waiting a run is his cheerleading for a third Trump term. When Trump doesn't end up running, he'll say he must carry the mantle, the ally predicted. And that's probably what this is about. Steve Bannon's pushing hard for Trump to run. He's been pounding the table every day. Trump third term, Trump a third term. But no, it's not going to happen. And it sounds like that's why at the same time, he's been building the campaign infrastructure so he can take the mantle from Trump. But so far, and I know it's very early, but so far, this just seems like a joke. Okay, build up operations in Texas for the midterms. That's good. But to say you're going to run a campaign from your studio? No. For now, Bannon is pressuring 3 potential GOP contenders for president in 2028. And I think this is a good thing. If this is his whole intention, not actually running for president, that's a different story. But it sounds like he's seriously going to run and try to get his name on the ballot and then waste a bunch of time and money from everybody. That's my issue with this. Again, trying to move the GOP in the right direction, that's good. But preparing a full-blown campaign to run for president out of your studio? No. Just no. During a recent War Room episode, Bannon name-checked Vance and urging the White House to take on big tech. Vance has deep relationships in the tech world, including with early Facebook investor and PayPal co-founder Peter Thiel, whom Vance counts as a mentor. If you're in the White House not standing up to big tech, you're part of the problem, and it's all going to get exposed, Bannon said. And that's a serious concern with Vance. Vance is a great vice president. I think he will make a good president. But at the same time, the issue with Vance is Peter Thiel, the big tech stuff. I don't think it's as bad as some people think it is. But still, it's like, okay, he is involved heavily with some of these big tech guys. Does that mean he's going to shill for big tech? No. But still, it's a bit concerning. Like Peter Thiel and these other guys, yeah, they're good friends with Vance. That doesn't mean anything. But still, a source close to Vance brushed off the criticism. J.D. Vance counts Steve as a friend and an ideological ally on nationalism and populism. The source said in a text message, Vance has spoken out against the tech community on several occasions. So I don't think Vance hates Steve Bannon or vice versa. Though lately there's been some people in Steve Bannon's world, they've been attacking Vance more vocally, which is just stupid. But still, it's like, okay, this is fine. If you want to have valid criticisms of Vance, Rubio, that's good. But the rest of the stuff is just a waste of time. It's a distraction. It doesn't do anyone any good. And the same thing for Marco Rubio. And Steve Bannon's been very critical of Rubio for, of course, Israel and other foreign policy stuff. And again, it's a serious issue with Rubio on foreign policy. He's been pretty solid as Secretary of State, but still, there are big questions as to is Marco Rubio a potential successor? Is he good enough on the issues? Is he really worth being the VP? We'll see. And again, this is not. There's no issue with being critical of Vance, Rubio, Trump. That's a good thing. That's a healthy discussion to have. Yeah, there's some issues with the administration that need to be sorted out. But at the same time, all this other nonsense is just ridiculous. It's just, again, a waste of time. A waste of time, money, resources that could be going towards the midterms, going towards 28. But instead, they're going to waste God knows how much money, time, manpower on this crap. And finally, Ted Cruz. So I don't consider Ted Cruz a major candidate. Ted Cruz, you could get like 5% of the vote in Iowa, and that's it. Or 10%, excuse me. It's going to be Vance and Rubio. Let's cut the crap. Trump purposely picked Vance and Rubio in their positions for a reason. Vance, 90% chance, will be the presidential nominee in 28. And 9% chance is Rubio, 1% chance, who knows? So yeah, overall, I'm nothing against Bannon, but right now I think this is kind of just stupid. It's a waste of freaking time. Why run? Okay, be critical. You have a strong audience. That's one thing. But to potentially run for president, no. You're gonna end up like Doug Burgum, who I like Doug Burgum, but in 24 he ran and got like what? He didn't even get 1% of the vote. So just seems to me to be a waste of time. It's just not gonna help anybody. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, and of course, join the channel today. Godspeed to all of you.